Hi everyone, my name is Kathryn Lowe and I'm a Master of Forestry student at UC Berkeley. I'm also a Carbon Neutrality Initiative Fellow for the Division of Agriculture and Natural Resources, or UCANR. So before I start, I want to thank you all for attending my talk today. I'm so sorry I couldn't be here with you all, but I'm currently collecting data for my master's thesis on the Plumas National Forest and don't have great access to internet at this time. This year, as a CNI fellow, I was given the opportunity to explore the many roles California's forestry sector plays in the state's greenhouse gas solution strategy. So foresters and other professionals in natural resource management are directly responsible for implementing statewide policy responses to climate change through the management of natural resources, bioenergy project development, responding to natural disturbances, and also through community planning. But despite the sector's known importance in solving such complex environmental problems, there has been a noticeable decline in forestry professionals. And this decline is closely linked to the statewide problems facing forestry education today, including declines in program enrollment and also the lack of professional development resources available to students to help them understand potential career opportunities in the growing sector. So last year, myself and other professionals from UC Berkeley and UCANR aimed to address the lack of early career resources provided to students studying forestry. We founded the Forestry and Natural Resources Career Mentorship Program, which I will refer to as Mentorship Program. This program aims to support traditionally underrepresented students studying forestry, particularly those who identify as women, Black, Indigenous people of color, or LGBTQIA, by encouraging the inclusion and the support for these groups within the profession. And this program aims to connect students with professionals in the field of forestry and natural resource management and to provide them with a network of support as they establish careers within the field. So through my work as a CNI fellow, I wanted to enhance my existing mentorship program by developing and disseminating a series of science-based educational materials aimed at understanding the forestry sector's role in helping the state meet its goals towards carbon neutrality and climate change impact mitigation. So these trainings focus on climate impacts on forest health and large-scale disturbances, wood products and carbon sequestration, and also communicating science to a variety of audiences. So the goal of the carbon sequestration and forest management program is to equip University of California students with the necessary knowledge and skills to communicate their role as a forestry professional in mitigating climate impacts while demonstrating the variety of careers in the field of forestry. So ultimately, I want to prepare students with the necessary tools to implement climate adaptive discussions in the workplace and implement climate positive changes in management decisions. So to create the content for these modules, I essentially conducted multiple literature reviews of the latest scientific literature, specifically from sources that conducted their research in California. So there are many ways the forestry sector can influence statewide efforts towards carbon neutrality. However, because I wanted this to be sort of an introductory training, I decided to focus the content on broader topics, including the impacts of climate change on forest health and large-scale disturbances such as wildfire, droughts, and insect outbreaks, and carbon sequestration using wood products. So these modules generally follow a similar format where the topic is introduced, problems are presented, and then solutions are offered. There are a series of interactive elements such as questions and case studies that students can use to interact with their mentors from the program. And I also consulted with industry professionals to refine the content that is presented. So foresters directly influence California's goals towards carbon neutrality through the management of some of the most carbon dense ecosystems in the world. Current forest health is threatened in California by rising temperatures, amplifying drought-induced stress. And these competitive and environmental stressors can also in turn amplify the impacts from other forest disturbances heightened by climate change, such as insect outbreaks and wildfires, which can lead to increased rates of mortality and ultimately the loss of stored carbon in these ecosystems. So through the sustainable management of forests, professionals can alleviate some of these impacts. Significant amounts of carbon can also be sequestered in the longer term in wood products. Further development of these markets for these products can increase the production and therefore the greater amounts of carbon sequestered. Large volumes of woody biomass produced from forest management activities can also be used as bioenergy, which can be considered carbon neutral when done correctly. But the materials presented in these modules only highlight a small portion of the many ways the forestry sector does contribute towards mitigating the impacts of climate change and statewide goals towards carbon neutrality. Currently, professionals are tasked with expanding amounts of responsibilities for managing for timber, mitigating wildfire risk, managing for water resources, and also sequestering carbon. And the many avenues available to young professionals can make navigating through the profession very difficult. Students participating in the program this year have expressed a lot of continued support for the mentorship program and its goals, but they've also stated a need for additional educational activities such as the carbon sequestration and forest management training. The educational modules developed for this program are a solid initial step to providing students studying forestry with specific information about how their career can directly aid local and global efforts to sequester carbon in terrestrial ecosystems. I aim to improve these materials by collaborating with industry professionals to further develop the module content, developing new modules on different topics such as California forests and carbon offsets, bioenergy, and carbon stored in forest soils. And I also aim to expand the mentorship program to include other Californian colleges and universities, thus creating a larger audience to share these materials with in the future. Before I wrap up, I would like to conclude my talk by thanking my advisor, Dr. Scott Stevens, for his guidance and mentorship while I developed the project. I would also like to thank Dennis Best and Dr. John Battles for their expertise and giving their advice on this subject matter. And then lastly, I want to thank all the members of the Mentorship Program Steering Committee for supporting me while I pursued this project and for their efforts to expand this new mentorship program. Thank you all so much. If you have any other questions about the content in my modules or anything that I brought up in my presentation, feel free to send me an email, which I included right over here on the slide. Thank you so much.